Hey guys, so I have promised this video to a lot of you for a long time, and I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to film it. Um, that it's just a season in life where it's not as easy to sit down in front of a camera and film. I just got this new phone. I'm trying to figure it out. I've had like an ancient iPhone for a couple of years now. I just got the new one, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've never touched technology before because I can't figure this out. So I thought, well, I'm trying to learn how to use this phone. I might as well sit down and do this video now before it's next year before I get around to it. So a few months ago, I mentioned in one of my videos that we kind of put reading on the back burner for my kindergartner because he was capable of reading and he was doing his lessons fine. But he wasn't necessarily mature enough. He kind of felt intimidated by it, and he just kept saying, I'm not good at this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And I didn't want him to approach reading or really any school with that intimidation or that fear that he wasn't good at it. And so because he was so young, it was not a big deal for us to just stick it on the back burner and wait until he was a little bit older. Now that I think we waited about 6 months and tried it again, and he is flying through it. And I'm really thankful that we took that time, that little break. So I wanted to do this video kind of about our struggle subjects, and I know that almost every kid has a struggle subject, and those are the subjects that either it's a temper tantrum every time you bring it out, it is something that they just don't like, or it's something that might be difficult for them and they prefer the subjects that are easy, and so every day that it's math time you end up with a kid pouting on the floor. That was my daughter. So my daughter was really struggling with math for a while, to the point where, and it was so frustrating because she was actually very far ahead of grade level and she could do it, and when I would sit down with her to help her, she didn't need my help and she didn't want my help, but she just wanted me with her. So it was just, she was just tense when we would do it. And so those are just, it might be a subject that, is a little bit more difficult than or they're approaching topics that are more difficult, or they just don't have a lot of self-confidence with it. I'm not necessarily talking about actual struggles with the learning. So if it's something like a learning disability or your kid is, on a different grade level than the subject, I don't really have any advice for that. And this isn't necessarily just a video for me to share advice. So if you haven't watched one of my Let's Talk videos before, the idea is that it's almost like a forum in the comments. We'll just have a conversation in the comments where you share your experiences on the subject, and hopefully we can interact and help each other as homeschool families with some of these more difficult, or with some of these topics that maybe don't come up a lot at a homeschool meeting. So, struggle subjects. I will give you, and now I've told you some of our backstory, but I'll give you a little bit more. Our very first struggle subject was math for my daughter. My son loves math. My daughter was well ahead of grade level, but every day when we would do math, it would cause a lot of, I don't want to say tears because she didn't necessarily cry, but it was maybe I did. It was just, I knew she could do it. She knew she could do it. She didn't want to do it, and I couldn't figure out why. I've learned that it's just because it wasn't the easiest subject, and she was very used to everything coming very easily to her, and not that that's a bad thing, but she's homeschooled, and so she doesn't necessarily, and I know some of you will relate to this, she's never gone to school. She's been homeschooled from the beginning. So a lot of, whenever we get to certain subjects or topics, she'll say, it's too hard, it's too hard. It's not that it's too hard, it's just that it was hard, and she wasn't used, and she didn't understand why I was making her do hard things, because she doesn't understand, that she's not the only kid in the world who has to do school. So, once we kind of got through that, and, she understood that kids, when you're in second grade, you do school, and, all of that it wasn't too hard, it's just that it was difficult, and that there's nothing wrong with it being hard. It doesn't mean she's dumb. It just means that, you can ask for help, and, you need, not everything in the world is always going to be easy. So what we did with her is we worked on switching around the time that we did math. Sometimes we would do it first thing in the morning. Sometimes we would do it, around lunchtime. We do it, have a snack with math. I just basically worked on trying to figure out where the tension was the lowest, if that is like an appropriate saying. I don't even know if that's a real saying. But and I talked to a friend of mine, our neighbor actually, who was a behavioral health counselor in the school system in our county. And because for a while I thought, does she have some kind of an anxiety disorder? Like, what is this that's happening? And so she helped me kind of pick through it as well. And so what we came to a resolution with her, we had even tried doing it in the evening after dinner. I just was trying to find the time where her mind was the most fresh. And so what ended up working for her is that it was not our first subject. So I would always give it to her when I was in school. I remember even in college, I would schedule my classes like the 7 a.m. classes because my mind was good. I was ready to do math at 7 a.m. That didn't work for her. It would actually set her off and she would just be frustrated all day long. And so we ended up doing math at the end of the day, and she knew that after it was done, she was done. And so that was completely opposite of what I thought would be, helpful for me. Those subjects at the end of the day, I don't even remember any of it from school. So, but for her, that is what worked best for her. We worked on moving some times around, and what my friend actually helped me understand is that the problem that we were having was really me, because I would always give in and say, okay, we'll do it tomorrow. I just didn't want the tension, or if she was doing it and she started fighting me on it, then I would yell at her, and it was just never a positive environment for learning. And so we came to the point where I just said, we have to do this every day. We picked the best time to do it. She knew she had to do it, so it wasn't a shock when I pulled it out, because a lot of times I would just ignore that we'd have to do math, and then I would just pull out the computer and be like, okay, it's math time, and she'd be like, and really thrown off. And so she's just that personality that needs to know it's coming, but she also needs a little bit of the control herself and the responsibility of it, and definitely needs me to back off. But she wants me in the same room. So a lot of the time I would give her the math because it is an independent subject, and then I would walk away. And if you saw my day in the life video, I'll try to figure out how I can post that on here. If you saw my day in the life video, then you saw that I actually just sit at the table with her in case she may have a question, but she doesn't want me to be watching everything she does. But she also doesn't want me out of the room. So that has been helpful since I've been staying in the room with her, and just being more emotional support for her. We have not had another problem with math. Now, for my son with reading, that was his struggle subject. I just recognized that he was young enough that I didn't need to find a way to force him to get through a certain number of lessons every day. I recognized that he was just still young, and that maybe we still needed to develop a healthy excitement for reading before we learned to read. So I just spent about 6 months reading to him, and if the moment was right, we would work on some sight words, but I never forced it on him. And he eventually, right about when he was 5, or just a little after he turned 5, was really excited and wanted to read on his own. And so it just kind of clicked with him. We picked back up at the beginning. I didn't pick up where we left off. I started back at the beginning of his curriculum. It only took him a matter of 2 weeks to fly right through what had taken us months before. And he was just ready. And I've heard with reading that, kids can be a lot older than we really think is appropriate when they learn to read, and in the long run that doesn't actually harm them. So I'm sure some of you will have more reading advice in the comments for one another, but that was our experience with reading. So if you have those struggle subjects, it could be history or science, or just something that your child doesn't like or doesn't come easily to them, or cause some kind of tension in your home, where you've had to shuffle the times around to figure out if it works for you or not, let me know in the comments below, and hopefully we can all have a respectful, nice, and helpful conversation with one another about what the fix for that looked like in your home, or if you haven't found the resolution, then ask questions in the comments, and I'm sure somebody will be able to help you. Like I've said, I've gotten a lot of personal emails and Instagram direct messages with these types of questions, and I know I want to help you guys, and so I know I a lot of times will like say, what about this? Have you tried this? Or maybe try that, but I don't have a lot of the answers or half of the answers because my kids are still so young. So I haven't necessarily gotten to those, my child's in 5th grade and they're at a 2nd grade level type of, I don't have a lot of those experiences yet. I know I said 3 things, and now that I'm rambling like crazy, I'm so sorry. The one thing was switching the time around for my daughter. The second thing was just waiting for a little bit of maturing in my son. The third thing was trying a different curriculum, because years ago I did have a little bit of a struggle with my daughter with reading, but it was just the totally wrong curriculum for both her and myself. It was really more for myself, so we switched that curriculum and everything just came perfectly. So I know sometimes like a math curriculum can be too bright and colorful. That could be distracting, where you would think that would be more fun, you know. So just the curriculums maybe don't always click, or it worked for 3 of your kids and it's not working for 1 of your kids, that kind of stuff. So anyway, those are my 3 scrambled thoughts on the subject, and thanks for bearing with me while I test out my phone. Anyway, let me know in the comments, or let's just chat in the comments and help one another, and I'm so thankful for this community. These Let's Talk videos are some of my favorites. Bye, guys.